Paradise is just located 6 miles from downtown Bellingham, Washington. Here you'll find Inspiration Farm, where steward Brian Kirkblett has turned 9 acres into a permaculture wonderland, overflowing with edible plants, fruit, ponds, and room for those ready to dive headfirst into homestead life. This place is more than just a farm, it's a living classroom. Even though there's 3 months of summer drought, Brian's swales keep the land thriving. His work as a water and permaculture consultant permeates the area. Let's go.
Welcome. I'm Brian Kirkfleet, and I'm co-steward here at Inspiration Farm along with my wife Alexandra. We've been here on this property for 30 plus years. It's one of the longest running permaculture demonstration farms. It started out as a homestead farm, going into diversity of perennial polyculture crops and animal systems, water systems, a little bit of everything we've tried over the years. We run a small nursery, we do annual vegetables and stuff, but really focusing on the tree crops and the guilds. We're up here in the Pacific Northwest, north of Bellingham. So we're maritime climate, get about 36 inches of rain a year, mainly focused around spring and winter. We're getting a nice little drizzle here, but it's been hot. And then as we go into summer, we get a very hot, dry spell for about 3 months. So essentially drought 3 months long. So we try and bank that rain in the soil, in our water systems, water integrated landscape design, and that provides enough hydration for the small water cycle to continue and keep everything green and lush year round. So we have our lower salad garden kind of diversified closer to the house, and then as we move up, it's some more of the main crops, but all along the edges, we have berry bushes, fruit trees. As we get up over that side, there's more nut trees and such, but...
Asian pears here?
Yep.
Tons of blueberries?
Yep. There's a new little guild we just installed last week we've got 3 skill traders here this year, so we're talking about education. I think people want the hands-on experience and the live-it experience. So we've been getting quite a bit of interest in that. So we just put in little guild.
What is a guild?
A guild is an assembly of plants that all play supporting roles. They hold different physical space. So they're capturing solar energy from multiple levels. They're interacting with the soil at multiple levels. They're interacting with the microorganisms and all the creatures that support the biology in those systems. And they have different functions. So like some plants are nitrogen fixers, some plants are insectiaries, they're pulling in beneficial or predatory insects. In this guild, it's really nice because it's young, you can actually see what's going on. But in some of our other guilds, they're big and jungly and you can't really tell what's going on. So this is a nice, simple little example of a guild. So basically you're looking for multiple layers of plants. So you have an overstory tree that takes a little longer to grow, but you know, that's what you're trying to support. So in that we have this little cherry tree right there in the cage. We've been getting some deer pressure, so it's been browsing on this. Need to lift this cage up a little bit. So that's the overstory tree. And then we have some large shrubs. This is an aronia. So that's a berry producing shrub that has flowers that brings in pollinators and stuff. And then supporting these, we have, this is an amber autumn olive and a sweet scarlet gumi. And those are both nitrogen fixers, and they also have good berries on them as well. And this is a very showy variegated comfrey. These will get chopped down several times a year and then compost down on the soil. This is Good King Henry, which is also a dynamic accumulator, bioaccumulator. And then we've got a few other things around. I just put squash plants around on the edges, some squash mounds, so they're annuals, but they will perform the role of a ground cover. They'll kind of cover over a lot of the space and suppress weeds and keep the soil cool. And then we've done, all of this was a sheet mulch. So we put down cardboard on top of the sod and then brought in wood chips. And then all of this is mushroom block inoculant. So this is mushroom. See, there's the mycelial mat in this substrate of sawdust. And so that will, they're spent mushroom blocks, but the mycelium is still active, and so it'll work its way into the ground and perform those mycorrhizal fungal roles. Then we also have down in here, there's a ground cover that I sprinkled in that's starting to come up. And then we have, this is not really showing itself yet, but this is a trailing, it's an Asian raspberry. So it's like a ground cover raspberry vine, very low growing, and it just kind of holds the soil all together. So that's kind of stitched in. We'll see if that takes off. So all of these have different layers, different space they hold, and then different roles that they have that support one another.
If you're enjoying this video and want to see the longer version of it, I have a link to my school community. It's completely free. There you'll find videos, webinars, and we have courses available on permaculture. You'll meet like-minded people and interact with people that enjoy this type of content. See you there.
So here's a sweet scarlet gumi. This is a shipova, which is a unique fruit that's an amazing, one of my favorite fruits. It's a cross between a mountain ash and a European pear. And then we've got grapevines growing up into here as well. So it's a linden blue, like a Concord style grape. We've had fruit for a while on it, but this is the oldest one. Actually, I got this from Doug.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I have half a dozen other shipovas, and they're even on hawthorn rootstock, which are dwarfing. That's supposed to make it fruit earlier, but it's still not getting fruit on.
Didn't do it. Yeah. Wow. So what's behind us here?
Oh goodness, we got some filbert trees in here. There's figs here. This is kind of a hot sunny edge, microclimate hot sunny edge. We've got a number of figs that are kind of getting swallowed up by the grasses. Then over here there's an almond tree over there. Then we have a pawpaw over here. It just finished flowering. I'm hoping we get some sets of fruit on it this year. I had two that were pollinating at the same time, so I went around and hand pollinated between the varieties. And then if we walk right in here, it's kind of a unique little zone. Get out of the rain for a second. But this is inside an old plum patch. So this is kind of a feral plum patch. But this is where I do a lot of my mushroom blocks down in here, so it keeps it cool and moist during the summer months when it gets a lot hotter. And these are probably spent blocks, but I've got in the wheelbarrow, we're inoculating. This is starting some new sawdust and inoculating this with wine cap stropharia, so garden giant. And you can look, this is starting to propagate nicely in through there. So we'll take this and then put this out in a bunch of our annual beds that have a lot of hay mulch, and it'll run into that hay mulch, and we'll get flushing throughout our annual beds. So this is kind of a nursery. We're just nurturing this, and then we'll take this and expand it out into the landscape. Those are oyster blocks, and these are shiitake.
Andrew Tuttle from Edge Perma, who joined me on this tour, created a virtual tour, a 3D model of the entire farm, so you can see, scroll around, move into specific parts of the farm as we go and tour it. See link below.
So then these are raspberry rows, but I've also got kiwi in here. So there's kiwi going through. I'm try and transition the raspberries out and turn this mostly into kiwi, but the raspberries just keep going. So we'll let them go as long as they want. But several different varieties of hardy kiwis in here, and then the raspberries. And then understory with mint and a variety of other things. So here's another really nice example of a fairly mature guild. So we have elderberry here, there's plums up there, semi-dwarf apple in through here, gummies, there's honeyberries in the understory. So we got more plums, Asian pears, irises, mint, all kinds of stuff. It's a chaotic production zone.
Love it.
A lot of our edges are all planted in these guilds, all the way back along that tree line, all that tree line, all that fence line are all planted in guilds, all the way over into there. And then we have these little areas that we've put into annual beds. You know, in permaculture, say design from pattern to detail. So we're looking at like the big patterns, designing our edges first, and then filling in some of the open spaces with the annual beds that we want, and then leaving enough access and paths. We harvest a lot of the grass for mulch. So the open space we either graze or we cut with the scythe and bring it in as mulch. So we're feeding the soil with all of that. So this is a crop as well. All this grass is part of the cropping. It goes much deeper than a rototiller goes, and it doesn't create any till pan. It actually fractures the subsoil by going straight down. And then all these spades kind of crank around on this crankshaft.
Wow, it's unique.
Yeah.
What's it called?
A spader.
Spader.
They're used much more common in Europe. I was looking for one around here for ages. I couldn't find one. I saw a few up in BC, but they were like much larger than my machine would handle and really expensive. So we're just getting ready to plant. Alexander's doing lots of flowers this year, so we just started prepping beds. So I can talk about our water systems a little bit. We're on 2 to 3% sloping ground on a sandy loam kind of soil, which can hold a lot of water, but at a certain point it gets saturated and it starts sheeting off. So early on we had a lot of issues with water that we had to deal with. We'd get flooding and stuff down near the houses. There was a lot of ground that we couldn't actually walk in or use or graze with our animals. So early on I realized, like, problem is your solution, you know, and how do you work with the water so that it's integrated in the landscape and you concentrate where the water is and concentrate where the land is, and then design from that moving forward. So over the years, we've put in 6 ponds and 14 swale systems that are all interconnected so that the water reticulates from the highest point in the landscape and flows down from one system to the next system to the next system, providing time for it to soak in to the surrounding area and hydrate all of those soils that keep us moist and thriving during the driest parts of the year. And I haven't planted anything in here. All of this has just moved in on its own. So we have frogs, we had a blue heron here this morning, we have ducks, geese, all those creatures come in, damselflies, swallows. Everybody just comes in and loves the water, uses it. So it's a real pleasure to see the evolution and how fast nature can take off and work with that resource that once it's held in the landscape.
So you fill up the pond with water.
It's right now we got a light drizzle, but it's coming off the roof of my shop, the overflow of the rain tank.
They go straight into the pond for storage.
So, and I've calculated it's actually just half of the roof of my shop. 1/4-inch rain event, I get 500 gallons of water that comes into there.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it's all gravity fed. This goes into the rain tank and then...
Man, this is paradise here.
So we do a lot just to manage how the water moves. All our beds are put on contour, so they're acting like little swales and soakage systems as well. So we just got all these squash mounds put in. We're just gonna do a cover crop, or like a whole menagerie of seed mix. We do a crazy seed mix on that, and then we'll throw a scatter mulch on top. So we do sunflowers and pole beans and calendulas, everything. Turnips, kale. We do a lot of seed saving, so we have a lot of bulk seed. So I just like make a huge mix and spread it out and see what happens.
Are these variegated elderberry?
Elderberry, yep.
Serviceberry.
So this is the top swale. That pond we were just looking at overflows into, and it connects with another pond on the other side. But this fills up numerous times and soaks in. But there you can see the swale ditch, and all this is the sunny edge, and then that swale mound is all planted in fruit trees, berry bushes, medicinal herbs, all kinds of stuff. So this is the other little, I call it a pocket pond. It's It's basically a feature that intercepts the water that flows down this valley and then connects to this swale and backfloods the opposite direction. So it's kind of connecting the two valleys with this contour line of that swale. And when that all fills up, it flows down through here and gets caught again and pulled across the opposite direction. And now we're on the downhill side of the swale, and you can see the assembly of plants, the guilds that are planted in this swale are pretty productive. I've found that anything you plant in this swale mound will grow 3 to 4 times faster than something you would just put out in the field. It's got double topsoil, it's got all that nutrient and moisture rubbing up against it. It's elevated from the surrounding ground, so it warms up earlier in the season, and it dries out if it's too wet, and it stays moist if it's too dry. So it really balances things. And we've got filbert trees, Asian pears, sea berries, josta berries, all kinds of stuff. So this area we're in, it's flanked by 2 swales. So the upper swale and the lower swale. So this is what's termed the inner swale section, and we do our annual cropping in here. And why that has been really beneficial is because you end up with perennial habitat on the edge, and you end up with a wind block kind of surrounding this area that keeps it from desiccating during the drier summer months. And you have that perennial habitat of like ground dwelling bees and snakes and birds and all that stuff that cause that nutrient cycling to continue and stabilize things. In our annual beds, we work this up and we integrate the chickens in with our systems, and they do a lot of ecological services of like pest control, weed control, light tillage, fertilization, and we work with them throughout the whole year, moving them all around the farm so they get to pick up fallen fruit and eat pests that would bother the fruit. We've trained them up. They actually eat slugs, so they'll tear the slugs apart. So they're a part of our slug patrol posse. And so we're just getting ready to plant this out, probably some grains and corn and stuff in this larger area. And then we always put them in an area so they have a bit of tree cover. They have that for protection from raptor predators, and then shade from the heat of the day when it's sunny out. So this is the lower swale. And again, we've got the assembly of plants, guilds on this side. And this fills up numerous times through the winter months. Look at how thick the set is. So those are sea berries. They're turned bright orange in kind of late summer. It's one of those superfood berries, super high in vitamin C, antioxidants, the lycopenes, beta carotenes, and essential fatty acids. They're incredible. Spilanthes.
We're gonna try spilanthes. We are getting soaked here in the Pacific Northwest. Oh, I'm numb.
Just chew it all around, just keep it going.
Woo! Numb.
I call it nature's Bananka blast. It's like after a little bit, you go like that. It's like minty fresh.
So in this farm, that's what you give when people have bad breath?
Yeah.
He got us.
Spilanthicized. Take a little reprieve. We have the last of our starts in here yet to go out. So these are the peppers and basil, a few more cucumbers, next round of cilantros and dills.
Do you guys mostly sell vegetables in the market, or?
No, over the years we've done CSAs, we've done the markets, all this stuff. Now we just have a farm stand here. We stock whatever we have excess. So on the property, there's actually like 4 or 5 families. Whatever we eat and can process is fine. Excess goes on the farm stand. We have some people that are in what we call a buyer's club, where it's like we let them know this is ripe, and they'll come and get stuff and do things with. And then we encourage you-pickers. So this is like a full farm experience. People come and they can pick berries, they can pick cherries, they can pick apples, and then they can pick up some extra stuff off the farm stand. So that's really the lowest amount of effort out to just share the abundance with other people. We have teamed up with some people various times to process things like make jams or jellies. Like, come and pick a whole bunch of stuff and make jams and jellies, and we share that with them and say, just bring us back a few jars of whatever you're doing, that kind of thing. So we try and work as much on the barter kind of frame, alternative economies. We're not so much money driven on that. We try and do trades. We try and make it a whole farm experience and show people what permaculture is able to produce in like a very chaotic system, but very minimal inputs and maximum outputs.
Do you do farm tours?
We do a lot of farm tours, 3 this month already. We work closely with Western Washington University. So we have their agroecology courses come here every year. And then we do workshops, various from a short 1-day, compost class topics to a full PDC, permaculture design certificate course. That is like full immersion learning, a lot of hands-on projects, and really just kind of peeks back the curtain on all these different topics of water, soil, topography, climate, animal systems, plant propagation, gardening, seed saving, the whole list, right? I think that's where the 3 ethics in permaculture are so profound. So it's care for the earth. We all want to do that. Care for the people, care for each other. And then the third ethic is one that gets talked about the most. So it's either return of surplus or fair share. You can share your abundance, your produce, you can share your knowledge, you can share your time, you can share your compassion, like all these different ways that you can kind of pay it forward. If you do that, other people start doing that, and then like we're all held.
How would you recommend people that don't have a space or didn't buy a long time ago to get into permaculture and how to get into the space?
There's a lot of different ways, I think. One is permaculture is not just about gardening. I know accountants that are permaculturists and they put the 3 ethic lens on how they do their accounting. That's number one. You don't need land to practice permaculture. It's a lifestyle. To answer your question about access to land, there's a couple of different ways. One is not everybody used to own land. You were on land, you had land around you, you didn't have ownership. Indigenous cultures didn't own land. The land owned them. Like they were stewards of the land. I planted fruit trees in houses I rented at. I learned how to garden in houses I rented at. I did balcony gardening, So you can learn tons of skills without having access to land. And then in the future, if you get access to land that's more long-term, then you have that skill set already. So I would say, A, don't wait, just start doing it, right? And then B, look at what public lands are around you that are degraded that need stewardship and start stewarding them, but don't have attachment to it. Indigenous cultures would just walk through the forest and they would tend the wild as they're walking through. Think outside of ownership. And then I would say there is ways to get into land. A, start small. Don't go, I need a 5-acre farm to do this. You could buy a small fixer-upper house somewhere and start. And then accrue equity and then over time leverage that and move into something. And that's kind of how we ended up here. I started a small little house in town and eventually we were able to move out of town and find this. And then another way is to look for internship opportunities and go and work with somebody whose land stewardship methods you admire or you want to learn how to do that. Get that skill set. It's all about getting all these skill sets down so that when you are able to find your dream property or whatever, you can hit the ground running. You don't have to make all the mistakes because you've already learned it from somebody that's gone through it. Yeah. So yeah, we have these 2 cabins, which were kind of here when we first moved here, but we've added on to both of them so that they're full living houses, and that these people that live here typically really want to learn and be integrated with the farm. So it's like the step up from internship. It's like we have people that live here 3 to 5 years and really get involved, and sometimes they have their own enterprises like raising chickens for meat or running a CSA or doing their own market garden thing. So we can stack enterprises on top of each other in the system, the more hands you have.
And so generally it's someone that wants to rent and live in something like this.
Yeah.
So it's like the benefit, you get the rental income plus a helping hand.
It is a helping hand, but they are also benefiting from what they're doing. So they're, helping weed the corn patch, but they get a bunch of corn and we all get to hang out together and have fun, doing it. It's a win-win. And we try and keep, our rental rates as low as possible, and, they're family basically. So they're getting to live in an amazing place. They get to learn all these skill sets throughout the year. They're getting to express their own ambitions if they have a little enterprise they want to do. It's just about having community.
And
well.
It's so huge because it helps. I mean, if you're buying a piece of land, right? Like one of the big things is where do you get income and where do you get help, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I teach is like how do you buy land and then get rental income, to help offset.
Yeah. And it's always a challenge because it's like I'm the maintenance guy too. So it's like, oh, my hot water heater's out or my faucet's leaking or whatever. Right. I'm like, sorry, I can't farm today. I got to replace the hot water heater.
No, there's a lot of work involved.
Yeah. And both of these cabins, like this cabin here, this is their personal zone 1 garden. And this cabin here, this is their personal zone 1 garden. They have their autonomy. They can plant whatever they want, do whatever. I mean, we have certain guidelines like don't spray poisons, don't do weird stuff that I wouldn't do up there. But then they can also integrate with the bigger picture outside of their own personal space. I'm bringing you over here to show you my tool orchard. So this is where I grow my tools. This one's just about ripe.
So you just grow all your tools through the meadow.
Yep.
Love it. Look at that. So even your tools are regenerative.
Yep. That's it. And black locust is like one of the best woods for tool handles. It's resilient, it's rot resistant, it's super strong. So I use it for rakes and my scythe handles and shovels, pickaxes, hammers, all kinds of different things. And then the black locust, it pollards, so you can chop it down and it'll re-sprout. It's excellent firewood, just has so many uses. It's phenomenal. Like we just tasted the flowers, they're delicious. The bees just go crazy over them. Can't say enough good things about black locust. And then this is all nut forest, all the way from way up there by the chickens, all the way down to the road is all nuts. So this is a butternut tree, Japanese heart nuts, all through there. And then we've got sweet chestnuts further down that way. There's a walnut tree right there. So this whole edge is just predominantly nuts all the way down. Fruits are great, but perennial proteins and carbohydrates are where it's at.
So you guys built this pond?
Last year.
Excavator, dozer?
Yep, excavator. One good size excavator and the tractor.
So you do design work for people?
Yep.
And you'll do installs?
I do mainframe install. So
and,
I don't
and you work with Andrew?
Yep.
To design?
Andrew and Mary did like the initial consult and the main design. They brought me in as a water consultant. We're walking right now. This is the dam wall. So we're crossing the valley. This is the area that it has been highly compacted and it has our best clay content that's holding this water back in this valley. And we've armored this with rocks because like when we get a big rain event in the fall or winter time, I came over here, this was like rapids just moving across there. So if you didn't armor that with rock, that would erode away the soil line and that would lower the water table of the whole thing. So then this is the ice skating area, which is shallow. and they're fairly shallow, 2 to 3 feet. So that was all brought up here, and all of this cover crop, this is going to be their main crop garden area. So this is called a silt trap or a filter basin. And so this, the water, it's flowing down slope, it carries debris and material with it. It hits this and it's able to settle out a little bit, some of that material, and then it slowly sheets right over here and into the main pond. And so this being shallow and stuff, it's easy to clean this out periodically. And ideally this will get grown in to like reed bed kind of filter system and filter out any manure, concentrations, and all that kind of stuff coming down through here. So this is a swale system. This finger swale comes out from the main catchment, kind of comes right along the fence line down that way. Rather than let it go straight down into the main pond, it gets diverted and it comes out this finger swale system. So this swale fills up first before it continues down that way. This gets charged numerous times through the year and it soaks down and it'll sub-irrigate their main crop garden area with manured, nutrient-rich water.
Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.